So Bernie Sanders did an interview with NPR over the last couple days, and it was very fascinating. Not only did he talk up how the stimulus package has a lot of very important things that will improve the lives of children and the working class, but also he talks about how it doesn't matter that the bill isn't quote-unquote bipartisan, that fundamentally people don't care that a single Republican didn't vote for it. People care that it delivers results.
Is it different from the plan you would have tried to pass?
Yeah, it is, in a number of respects. But having said that, in my view, this particular piece of legislation is the most consequential piece of legislation for working families passed in many, many decades. It understands that the working class of this country today is facing more desperation than any time since the Great Depression. It also understands that we don't rebuild our economy, we don't get our kids back into school unless we crush this pandemic. So if you look at this piece of legislation, which is 628 pages, it is really transformative in terms of addressing the needs of working families in our country.
Is there something you would like to point out to us that's in there that maybe wouldn't have been included under other circumstances?
You know, at the end of the day, with half of our people living paycheck to paycheck, when millions of people are working for starvation wages, people facing eviction, some of us believed that getting a direct payment out to working families was a major priority. Family of four gets $5,600. That was important. The other thing, again, that I focused on is we have more than double funding for community health centers, which means that we are going to have working families, lower income people all over this country be able to walk into a community health center in a way they haven't been able in the past to get not only primary care, but dental care and mental health counseling, which today, as you know, is in a crisis situation.
American Rescue Plan didn't get any Republican votes. Does that portend anything for you with so many issues coming up in the Congress where some bipartisan amity might be a good idea on looming issues like immigration, as we see another spike in the number of children congregating at the southern border?
Well, I think everybody wants bipartisanship. But what is most important is that at a time when this country is facing unprecedented health crises, economic crises, educational crises, mental health crises, we got to move. And if the choice is doing it without Republican support and moving aggressively, or spending, month after month after month debating and discussing and not doing anything, to me the choice is pretty clear. We do it. And when the American people get those $1,400 checks, they're not going to be sitting around saying, oh my goodness, this is not good, we didn't have any Republican support. I think they're going to be understanding that finally that the United States Congress, the president, are beginning to respond to their needs.
And so you can see that I played the two excerpts there. Bernie really does note that if the package isn't perfect, we can all acknowledge it, it still has important things, whether it's stimulus for the American working class, whether it's a social security type program for children, $300 a month basically per child. It's sort of a 1-year pilot program, but there's a hope that will go permanent, and that could cut child poverty in the United States in half. There are good things in here, even as we acknowledge it needs the $15 minimum wage, even as we acknowledge, frankly, that there's no replacement yet for Medicare for all, even as we acknowledge that the $1,400 checks really could have been $2,000 and they didn't need to reduce how many people got them, but the package has good things in it, which makes it no surprise that it has supermajority support from the people, including about 60% of Republicans, at least according to a recent poll we covered on the channel. And so this journalist, the interviewer, is still asking Bernie, though, well, it's not bipartisan. And Bernie sort of says, okay, bipartisan's fine, I guess. Bipartisanship is fine, I guess. But he basically says, who gives a damn? Who gives an F that this isn't bipartisan? This delivers to people all over the country from various locales, from various backgrounds, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, you benefit from this for the vast majority of people. Maybe the very, very wealthiest don't see a whole lot from it, but basically everyone benefits. Everyone benefits from this package. Everyone, regardless of party. That's what makes it pan-partisan, at least bipartisan, right? So Bernie is right to note this. And I think this is so crucial because I think, and maybe I'm being optimistic here, or maybe this is just temporary, but the lesson Bernie Sanders has taught the mainstream Democratic Party is actually starting to pay off a little bit. We all remember 2008, 2009, 2010, where the Democrats had a way bigger victory than they did this time. They almost had a supermajority in the Senate. They had massive majorities in the House. Obama won many more states than Biden did. But he was always hankering for bipartisanship. It seemed to be absolutely crucial that he get some Republicans to vote for the stimulus package they passed back in 2008, 2009, 2010. Getting a Republican for Biden and Obama then was almost like job one. It was the most important thing. And because of that, they took too long. The package wasn't ambitious enough. The package was too compromise based, and it didn't actually help the people sufficiently. And since then, because of people like Bernie saying, fundamentally, if you give to the working class, it'll unite people across political divides, you've seen Schumer and you've seen Biden basically say that. What makes this bill bipartisan isn't the fact that Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell would vote for it, or any of their Republican colleagues would vote for it. What makes it bipartisan is that Republican voters support it, that Republican governors and mayors in some cases support it. That's what makes it bipartisan, right? And I think that fundamental shift is crucial if the Democrats are ever going to get anything done. They still got to tear down the filibuster. There's still a lot to do. But as long as Democrats now realize that simply getting someone with an R to check a box instantly making a bill better, as long as they excise that from their mind, they might actually start to do more good things. Because Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and all their underlings in the House and in the Senate will vote down a package that people want and need, their own voters and constituents want and need, out of ideological conformity and ideological stubbornness. And that's what we saw. They voted down a package that has 75% national support because they didn't want to piss off like Trump or the uber MAGA base that they're all terrified of, even though the average American, including average Republicans, are like, this bill's okay. I like it. Maybe it's not perfect, but I like it. And you know how I know that? At least 2 Republicans, since the stimulus has passed, have touted the bill. We covered Roger Wicker. He's a Republican senator. We covered him, on a live stream, basically putting out a tweet saying, look, this has great provisions for small restaurant owners. I want you all to take advantage of it. And then everyone stormed him on Twitter and said, dude, you voted against the bill. And just yesterday, the day before, Maria Salazar, she's a Florida Republican House member, is touting here that there's COVID relief for small businesses and other groups that matter to her and her constituency. And she's touting this as a victory for her when she voted against the bill too. So you have Republicans in the House and in the Senate who voted against this package, but still want to make it look like they support it because they know it's popular. Democrats need to realize that one of the strengths Democrats have is that when they actually keep their promises are popular. And so they got to keep doing that, and they got to worry less about Mitch McConnell and Trump and Kevin McCarthy and all those ghouls. Bernie Sanders has set this in motion, and I think Bernie and the progressives have taught this lesson. Maybe, just maybe, Biden and Schumer and Pelosi, maybe they're learning it a little bit.